Hey there, it's Colleen, the Preparedness Pro, here for your pop-in today. We've got kind of a master class that I'm gonna do today. We're gonna talk about essential oils and whether or not they belong in your emergency preparedness supplies. Well, if you know me, you know I don't really believe in emergency preparedness because I think if you're prepared for it, it's really not an emergency. So because I think preparedness is about having a lifestyle of living self-sufficiently. So really the question is, do essential oils belong in your life? So let me share just a little bit about my history, if you don't mind. I had a quadruple whammy of health issues. No woman wants to have these issues at all. I had endometriosis. I had polycystic ovarian syndrome, which any one of those is miserable, but both of those combined is terrible, and it makes you gain weight like you wouldn't believe. Not fun. Because of the weight gain, I had diabetes. I had high blood pressure as well. I also have a dysfunctioning thyroid. It's pretty much useless. I just had one health issue after another, because then my joints were hurting because I was overweight and just all kinds of things. And I would work out like a gorilla and my body wouldn't respond. And I would diet, my body would respond a little bit and then just gain everything back. It was just, I pretty much felt like a failure as far as health goes. And I'd see one doctor after another, and all they would do is just, shove medications at me. Oh, here you have diabetes. Let's give you this. And none of them focused on preventative medicine at all. And it's no surprise to anybody listening to this that preventative medicine isn't something that's taught in medical schools. In medical schools, they teach you how to make money for being a doctor. And preventative medicine doesn't necessarily fit their profile. They think that if you teach people how to stay healthy, then you won't make money. It's kind of interesting. In the European market, they have a little different philosophy, and I'm not a fan of socialism by any stretch of the imagination, but they at least know where their money comes from. They know that the money comes from the people, and they figure that if they have people dying on them, then they won't have money for their taxing pet projects. Whereas our nation doesn't seem to understand that in terms of keeping people healthy. They just think we can tax them to death. And they've even passed a law that says after your beloved dies, that the family members can then be chased after for paying the medical bills, which is just unjust in every way, shape, or form. Anyway, suffice it to say that we have different views on preventative medicine. In the European market, well, let me just tell you this. I had a television show. It was basically the French version of 60 Minutes, come and film me when I was living in Utah. And it was very interesting. We sat down for dinner after a long day of filming, and they asked me questions. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? And I wanted to ask them some questions because I had certainly heard some things about their healthcare. And so I wanted to know if they were true. And I asked them about antibiotics and medications, and they looked at me like I had four heads. And then I asked them about essential oils, and they said, yeah. And I asked them about alternative medicine, and they said, alternative medicine? What do you mean, voodoo? And that's their idea of alternative medicine. Essential oils are not alternative medicine to them. Essential oils are their medicine. They regularly use it. In fact, when the doctors are prescribing them medications, the doctor will ask them, do you want an essential oil or tincture solution, or do you want a US medication or this type of medication? They will now give them a choice. And apparently there was a little kerfluffle about people fighting for having that choice because they thought that the US medical system was so much better. But unfortunately, we've invaded that. Oh, sorry, Europe. Anyway, I found that just very interesting. Here's something else that's interesting. They conduct tons of studies because it's a part of their primary healthcare. Guess who does the studies for them? U.S. based universities. They are paid through European and UK medical systems, but they're done in the U.S. So you would think that the U.S. doing all of these research studies, they're getting paid, elsewhere to do them. But you would think that the U.S. doing all of these research studies, they'd get a clue going, hey, maybe these alternative medicines actually work. But it's not their agenda, and it is hardwired in them that it is not their agenda. And I just don't see a day when we'll fix that. I mean, Christ is going to have to come again for that to be remedied. It's just not in the cards. So, do essential oils belong in your emergency preparedness? Well, I believe that they belong in your life. But, and that's a big honking but, there are some caveats with that, and some serious caveats with that. First of all, let's make it clear. I think that the body can heal itself if given the proper tools and if given the proper amount of time. But sometimes something's going on with the body and you've run out of time because you didn't have access to the proper tools. Or, heaven forbid, you are in a car accident and you run out of time. There isn't time because you're in a serious car accident. You've got to go to the hospital. You've got to get emergency emergency medicine. So essential oils are great as a tool for the body, if you have the time, if your body has the time to repair itself. I just want to be clear. Typically, essential oils are not for emergencies. Now, there are some exceptions to that. They're pretty amazing because they communicate on a cellular level almost instantly. And we'll talk about that today. But I just want to make that clear. I'm not one of these people that goes crazy with essential oils and making all kinds of claims. If somebody gets in a car accident, I don't pull out my geranium oil and say, oh, well, you need this. Actually, geranium oil would probably be good for someone who's in a car accident because it helps with emotional stability. But I wouldn't pull out my geranium oil if somebody was in a car accident. All right. Anyway, I just wouldn't do that. They're probably freaking out and don't want to be introduced to something else right now. They're just thinking about getting medical attention. Anyway. There's a time and a place. Read the room. Read the room, people. All right. So as you have questions as you're listening to this, feel free to ask. I didn't just go through my own journey. What I ended up doing is I ended up finding an essential oil company that had some very specific standards that I was looking for. And it was very unusual for them to have these standards. I had a dickens of a time finding a company that had XYZ standards. And I'll talk to you about those standards too that I suggest that you find as well. I decided that instead of spending six figures on buying the essential oils that I needed to try to make a difference in my health, that I would exchange my talents and skills because they needed them desperately. They're a small company, relatively speaking, to the masses that are out there. And so I worked for essential oils for years. And I now have 6 figures worth of essential oils in my arsenal. And I'm very, very grateful that I have those. But even more grateful because of all the work that I got to do. I literally got to write the desk reference book for the company. The desk reference book that everybody references. I got to write that. And so I can literally say I wrote the book. I wrote the book on essential oils. That was my first book, I guess, technically speaking. But there's no byline, so nobody would know I wrote it. Anyway, I got an amazing education on essential oils, understanding them down at the constituent level. It's just amazing. Now the question is a $12 oil as good as the $90 oil, or why is it a $90 oil instead of a $12 oil? Well, some of that could be because it's sold through a multi-level marketing company and they've got to mark it up so that they can pay many generations down, and that's unfortunate. But there is a difference. I'm sorry to say I would never buy an essential oil that Walmart has. I just wouldn't. But guess what? It's not going to happen this quarter. Well, it's not going to happen next quarter. We're almost done with this quarter. So not going to happen next quarter, but it is going to happen the quarter after that, the beginning of 2025. I am going to start my own essential oil company. I'm going to use the standards that I have been looking for. And I'm going to start small, just with the basics. And I'm going to make it so that they're affordable as possible it can be for people. Because I want everybody to have access to this. There's been many medical professionals before me who have gone on with the cause and who have done work for free or cheap because they wanted it accessible to the people who needed it the most. And that's what I'm doing in the name of preparedness. So, Bill, hopefully you will get access to the essential oils that you need. Hopefully you'll be able to afford to do that at that point. All right. So the first thing is, before I get down to the nitty gritty about essential oils, I don't want to make this too long, so it may be a two-parter, but I want to share with you which essential oils are absolutely essential in my kit. If I could only pick a handful of essential oils, which ones would I pick? Because I have over 100 different kinds. And I know what they all do. I know that this one's good for this one's good for that. My mom and dad will call me at all hours. Okay, we got an earache. What do we use? Because I gave them a kit with all the essential oils in it. And so I know that they're taken care of. I've given a kit to everybody I care about in the family so that I know that, they've got kids or they've got owies and stuff that they're taken care of. Now, I don't use essential oils as much as I used to because I am significantly healthier now. I lost 125 pounds and I take whole food nutrients and quality minerals. And I haven't been sick with a cold. And I don't remember when last time I was sick. I've been exhausted. I do still have a chronic disease. I struggle with depression, but I use the essential oil for that, but that's it. So I don't have any other ailments other than that. So, all right, what are the ones that I would definitely have? I won't get into the nitty gritty of the constituents. And when I say constituents, I am going to do a video on constituents, but it's really important to understand the constituent makeup of an essential oil. I have heard people ignorantly say all essential oils are the same. You realize that essential oils grow from the ground, from a plant, right? That's impossible. Not even God himself is allowed to do that. He's not allowed to make a plant grow the exact same way under the exact same conditions every year so that it's the exact same essential oil every year. In order for an essential oil to be the exact same as everything else, in order for them to be the same, they'd have to come from one source and it would have to grow exactly the same way in a controlled environment every year. That's just foolishness when somebody says that. It's ridiculous. That's why I was disappointed when I asked for the specific testing of some lavender oil from a company. I won't say where they were because I'll just give away too much, and I'm really not interested in bashing on other companies. But the company sent it to me, And I was like, okay, this is okay. This is not so happy about this, but this is okay. And then the next year, I asked them for another test because they was a new batch for this lavender oil, and they sent me another test results. It was the exact same. So it was telling me that A, they either weren't testing, or B, they were pulling the wool over my eyes, or C, they were being careless. And neither one of those made me very confident to want to spend my money on essential oils, because I base my life on them. I'm expecting them to be my medical care, my alternative medical care, but I'm expecting to be the medical care. I'm going to be the essential oil doctor in my neighborhood, or in my community. So I've learned these skills. It will make me, hopefully it'll make me valuable, and somebody won't kill me. I'm not worried about that, just so you know. I'm really not. Anyway, so constituents are really important. You've got to know what makeup is in your essential oils. For example, the eucalyptus I use, it's Eucalyptus radiata. And I know that when I put that across my nose, that my sinus pressure is going to be relieved just like that. It's been a long time since I've had to use that, but that's because, there's 500 different species of eucalyptus, but that's because of a 1.8 cineal. That's the constituent in there. And the eucalyptus I use has anywhere between 82 and 85% 1.8 cineal, which explains why it's so effective. It also has camphor in there, which is present. It's a passive constituent. It needs to be in there. But if it's present in excess of 0.05%, then it could be harmful to the respiratory system. In fact, it could actually stop the breathing of a small child. And I've seen one of the big companies put out a muscle relieving essential oil that has a certain species of eucalyptus in it, and that is high in camphor, which means it's bad for the respiratory system. And yet you're putting it all over your muscles. It's not good. It's not smart. So the constituent content is really important, but we're not gonna get into that today. All right. So the essential oils that I find that are really vital to have in your medical package. First is peppermint. Peppermint is great for headaches. It's great for sore muscles, and I can tell you why in terms of what constituents make it great for that. But we'll save that for some other time, for like maybe a webinar for people who actually want to learn this kind of stuff, not one of these pop-ins. But I would definitely use peppermint. One of the other things too is peppermint is a great weight loss agent. And the reason why is if you take peppermint orally, and again, it's got to be a nice strong peppermint. You should taste it and go, oh my gosh, that's strong. Okay. You will lose an appetite for carbs and sweets. So it's great for weight loss. Also, if you put it on your temples, it will refresh your mental track, your mental tracking, your thinking, your energy level, because your mental track's being refreshed. So let's say that you are the one who gets the midnight shift of the watch, and I would have some peppermint with you. It also repels rodents. You can just put a little bit of peppermint on cotton ball and put it in the corner, and mice do not like that. Apparently I don't have enough corners because I still get some mice. Not in all the corners, but I still get some. Okay, the other one I just have to have is lavender. Lavender is great for burns. It's great for cuts. It's really important that you get the right lavender. I used the lavender from one of the big companies on a really serious burn that I got from a pressure cooker, ironically. I was trying to film me opening up a pressure cooker with one hand and opening it up with the other, and that was just a bad idea. I will never do that again. And I got a really bad burn. And so I went over to the sink and I doused myself with this lavender, and it just made the burn hurt worse. And I screamed. It was terrible. I've never experienced such pain in my life. It was terrible. So I went into the other room and I got the essential oil brand that I like to use, past tense, I guess I should say. And I put it on, and it did soothe it. It was night and day. It was night and day. But lavender, I definitely would use that. It helps to calm people down. If you've got a dog that does that, that the throat thing, you just put some lavender on your hand and put it underneath their nose, and it will stop that. It will calm down their that reaction that they have. It will appease itches and bites. So will peppermint too, by the way, which is good. Another one is lemongrass. Now I'm going to teach you something. Lemongrass begins with an L, right? So I want you to remember that lemongrass is good for ligaments. Okay. So lemongrass, and I just wrote something down that I wanted to make sure I told you. Lemongrass is good for the ligaments. So anything that's ligament related in your body, you want to use lemongrass for. It's also great for warts. Lemongrass, though, is what I call a hot oil. It can irritate the skin if you keep putting it on the same spot. So you want to change where you're putting it on. But with a wart, you want to keep putting it on the same spot. It's going to look really ugly before that wart goes away. I'm just telling you. But that wart will go away with the lemongrass. And lemongrass smells so good, too. I like cleaning with it. When I just use water with my Norwex stuff, but I like putting a little bit of lemongrass in my water, and it just smells really nice. The next one, it's a little more expensive. It doesn't have to be $90, but it usually comes in a smaller bottle because it's more precious. It's helichrysum. Now, helichrysum begins with an H. So remember that helichrysum is good for hearing. Any auditory issues, earaches. I used it on a guy who had a hearing issue for years, and we just put some right at the back, that little pocket right at the back of your ear, and his ear opened up and he could hear. And frankly, I was shocked. I didn't expect that. I expected maybe something, but not that. I looked at my friend and I was like, wow, okay. Anyway, helichrysum, but helichrysum also works on the nervous system. So when you have the nervous system problems, when you've got diabetes, the restless leg syndrome, helichrysum is great for that. What else is it that you get when you have diabetes, where you just can't feel your feet? I can't remember what that's called. I'm sorry, but it does help with that as well. That tingling feeling that you get that just drives you crazy. It will help with that. Anything nervous system related. Next is birch. Birch begins with a B, and it's good for bone, the bone system. Now let me just stop here real quick and tell you what makes an essential oil good for a certain system. Well, essential oils communicate on a cellular level. And that's all they do. They communicate on a cellular level. They do it almost instantly. With trillions of cells, they will communicate almost instantly. And they only communicate with the cells that can understand them. So it's like me going to France and yelling for attention and doing it in Portuguese. I'm not going to get any attention. But if I go to Portugal and I yell in Portuguese, people are going to understand me. They're going to acquiesce. They're going to, oh, okay, well, you go here and then you go there, and everything's going to be fine. Well, that's how essential oils work. That's their fundamental function, is through cellular communication. And so that's why you have Birch that works with bone, and helichrysum works with the nervous system, etc., is they work with specific cellular communication. All right, so birch works with bones, so it's great for bone injuries, but it's also a great analgesic. You can get the birch bark, and you could wrap it around a wound and have that help heal it. But the birch oil is wonderful. My mom broke her arm. She's 83 years old. First time she's ever broken anything, I believe. First time that she's ever had to go to the hospital in 40 years. Anyway, I've had her using the birch so that heals faster. The birch is just great. The problem is, though, is there's only two key manufacturers of birch in the world. One's in Europe and one's in the US. And the others try to manufacture it, we'll just say, and they dilute it with the birch. I can talk. They dilute it with wintergreen. And so a lot of times, instead of getting actual birch, you're getting wintergreen, which is unfortunate. So asking for constituent profiles before you actually invest in essential oils is vital. Next is geranium. As you heard me say earlier, geranium is great for emotions. So how I remember geranium is geranium begins with a G, which stands for girl, which means emotions, okay? Geranium's great for emotions. It's also great for the other girl issues that you have, such as menstrual cramps, and balancing those emotions when somebody just can't seem to stop crying, grief. Geranium is great for that. A lot of times, there's a lot of science that says that a lot of our injuries or a lot of our illnesses are caused by emotional issues, and so sometimes geranium can help where the other essential oils cannot. Next is marjoram. Marjoram begins with an M, which stands for muscle. So marjoram does work on the muscles. So your sore muscles, I would use marjoram and peppermint together, side by side. I would use them both to help with sore muscles. Where you want to apply essential oils, topically is typically preferred, right on location. But where you can, when you want it to impact the whole body, is right at the base, right on the bottom of your big toe, right where it bends. That's where all your nerve endings of the spine end. And so by putting a drop of essential oil, just a drop, that's all it takes. More does not mean less. When someone's screaming, you tune them out, right? Same with cellular communication. When you have a whole bunch of essential oil, that's a loud cellular communication and it's tuned out. So just do a drop of essential oil right there on the bottom of your foot where the big toe bends. That's where you want to put it if you want it to impact the whole body. Frankincense. Frankincense begins with an F, and I have no way of tying that to anything. I just thought I'd tell you that. But frankincense is what I use to help with depression, anxiety. I don't have anxiety, thank goodness. I feel really bad for people who struggle with that. But it does take me down a couple notches with depression, and I'm very grateful for it. I have a lot of friends that use it. Unfortunately, I have a lot of friends who struggle with depression, but they swear by it. There's different species of frankincense, but you want it to smell really, really earthy. Just really deep and really earthy. That's how you'll know you've got a good one. Next one is Ravensara, not Ravensara, but Ravensara. I wrote a whole article about this on Preparedness Pro. If you just put it in the search bar, Raven, Ravensara. Ravensara is great for arthritic pain. That's the number one reason for using it is for arthritis, rheumatic pain. Rheumatic arthritis is what I meant to say. Sorry. It's just great for pain. It kicks things up a notch. I will usually use Birch and Ravensara together. Ravent Sara is somewhat toxic and poisonous to your liver. Do not use Ravent Sara. Sometimes people poison Ravent Sara with Ravent Sara. So again, constituent readout is very valuable. Got 3 left. Clove oil, great for dental pain. Word just left me. Canker sores. Yeah, canker sores, it's good for that. But dental pain, it's great for that. Dentists used to use clove oil specifically for that in the 1800s. That's the interesting thing about this. We've got all these studies that are done that are current, but we've got hundreds of years of success in using these, unlike the medications that were being given, like statins, for example. We don't, they stopped testing after 5 years because after 5 years, they started having an increase in women having breast cancer. So they're like, okay, well, we're going to stop testing now. It's been 5 years. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But essential oils have had, centuries of success. Anyway, I'll get off that high horse. Okay. Next is cypress. Cypress begins with a C. It's good for the circulatory system. So be careful when you use it. You sometimes don't want that circulatory system to go. If you suspect that there's been an injury where there might be a blood clot, don't use the cypress. But if you want circulation to be going and that's what you need, then use the cypress. Cypress is great for that. Okay, and last but not least is the supercharger. It supercharges all of the essential oils. It helps them go deeper into the system. It also has its own constituent benefits as well that I'm not going to get into, but it's called Cabruva, Cabreuva. Cabruva. Cabruva you want to put on last. And like I said, it does supercharge all of the other essential oils, but it has medicinal benefits as well. Bill says some dentists still use paste with clove for dry socket infection. There are some companies that actually use clove oil in their all natural toothpaste too, it's wonderful. So that's my list. That's my list of essential oils that I would use for emergency preparedness. I wouldn't be caught without them. I would definitely have them in there. I'm going to add lemon to the list, but I won't get into that. Lemon and peppermint go really well together for various reasons. Lemon helps the left side of your brain work better. But anyway, that's my list for today, and I've already gone 30 minutes. So I'm gonna stop here, and maybe we'll just do a webinar sometime on essential oils, and we'll get in deeper and have bigger discussion about it. But yes, essential oils belong in your emergency preparedness. And yes, they are beneficial to you. They've been tested. Don't just take the sizzle marketing word that they're great, because that's bunk. One of the biggest companies out there is one of the companies that kept providing me the same test results for lavender. And it's ridiculous. Trying to say that all essential oils are the same is ridiculous. The best source of lavender comes from the Alps. And you can't tell me that the lavender that comes from the Alps is going to be the same lavender that comes from the desert of Utah. It's just not the case. So I'm not bashing on any company whatsoever. I'm not going to give you a company that I prefer, only because I'm in between right now. I have some questions about the company that I have been getting my essential oils from, and I don't want to put my reputation on the line and have you have a bad experience. So I'm going to leave you at the mercy of your own research, and hopefully I've given you enough of a barometer that you can at least start and at least have something that's worthwhile in your medical supplies. And that's it for me for today, and I will see you later. Take care. Bye.